So before you can give to the community, you have to do your own work. I believe very deeply in being an actualized person and fulfilling the things that you need to do in order to be able to help someone on their journey.
Hey, I'm Tania Bhattacharyya, and you are listening to the Campfire Circle podcast. We are all about breaking down the boardroom table as the ultimate space of leadership, and instead replacing it with a campfire. Because that's where we share our stories. That's where we build warm community, and that is where there's always room. I'm building an impactful business in public through thought leadership, and I'm taking you behind the scenes all along the way. So if you want to stand out as you stand up for your mission, you are in the right place. Hello, hello. Welcome to the special summer series of the Campfire Circle podcast, where we're bringing back relevant mini moments from past episodes. This clip is from a longer conversation with Dr. Devona Stalnaker-Shofner about using narrative therapy to disengage from toxic societal stories and actually rewrite our own stories as changemakers. Devona is a professor at Antioch University, New England, a licensed counselor, and a keynote speaker who is committed to equity and justice in mental health. In this clip, we talk about how we can nurture future social change agents, whether they're part of our teams, whether they're our clients, or just members of our community. We dig into the power of our why and leadership that is rooted in that why, in our purpose and our values, even if that is maybe different from some of the modes of leadership we're used to seeing on TV. This episode is now over 2 years old, and there are some mention of news stories that are dated, but what she shares is timeless. So enjoy this episode.
I know it kind of sounds cheesy, but counseling for me feels as natural as breathing. It feels like an extension of who I am as a person. I am empathic. I am compassionate and caring and nurturing and supportive. And all of those things are necessary skills in counseling. So it just felt organically me. And that's how I ended up as a counselor. I had considered psychiatry because I was a double major, psychology and biology. And then I realized psychiatrists don't do the fun stuff like the counseling. They prescribe medications and they're all about diagnostic work and assessments. And I wanted to be in the trenches. I wanted to work with people and help them through their difficult and dark moments and come out on the other side of that because I did it. And so I wanted to be able to help other people to do the exact same thing.
That's amazing. I think the most successful fill in the blank counselors, entrepreneurs, whatever the title is, the most successful ones, I think, have that lived experience and have gone through the journey and have gotten to the other side because they have the wisdom, right? They have the lived experience. They have the everything to be able to pass on to the people that they're helping. And what a great sign that you were able to finally feel like you were most yourself. I think that's a huge sign that we're in the right role at the right time.
Well, I was kind of worried about this counseling thing because I remember in my master's program, in my very first class, my professor said, if you're here to make money, you can leave now because this is not a profession where you're going to get rich. And I thought there are other ways to be fulfilled and to be enriched. And I remember my mom saying that do what you love and the money will come. And so far, I'm living okay. I mean, I'm not like balling out of control, but I'm comfortable.
And I bet your heart is fulfilled every single day you wake up, which is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Every day I know that I'm living my purpose. And how many people can say that? How many people can say that?
That's it. That's it. So kind of related. So in your three roles, right? You're a counselor, you're a clinical supervisor, you're a professor, you're also a speaker. So in all these four roles, I think you have a really unique opportunity to nurture people who have that lived experience in that fill in the blank issue, mental health, systemic racism, all of the intersectional isms. And so you have that opportunity to nurture them into a change maker like you, who's actively doing something to fix that big problem that they went through. And that's a beautiful thing because then that next cohort of human beings are able to hopefully have a different experience. They don't have to, they maybe have more services, they have more care available, or they just don't have to go through that same experience. So let me stop my ramble and just long question short. How do you best nurture up future social change agents?
Wow, that's a great question. And I think one of the things that I would probably want to say or focus on is really helping them to develop a level of social consciousness. And part of that is helping them to really think about their own work. What have they done? So before you can give to the community, you have to do your own work. I believe very deeply in being an actualized person and fulfilling the things that you need to do in order to be able to help someone on their journey. So I think part of what I would do is encourage anyone to do their work around social justice and activism and advocacy. And then what does that look like for them? So that could be going to different lectures, could be listening to podcasts, it could be reading books, it could be attending workshops and seminars. It's really very open ended, all the things that you can do. I think the point is that you're searching for knowledge, you're searching for awareness, and you're searching for your purpose. And so, one of the other things I tell my students is really to kind of think about the 5 W's. And that's really simple. So, who am I and who are you wanting to become? And why do you, I'm not, well, I jumped ahead. So, who am I wanting to become as an advocate? I think that's a better way of phrasing it. And then the what would be, what is your purpose? What is leading you or driving you to do this work? And then when will you begin the work? So give yourself a time frame. Be able to do some of your own reflection and your own growth. And then how will that be channeled into activism and advocacy? And then where do you need to start? So, do you need to start with yourself? Do you need to start with your clients? Do you need to start with your family? Do you need to start in your community? So, where does the work need to happen? And then, lastly, and I think the most salient question is why is this work important to you? Sometimes I've come across people who haven't figured out not necessarily who they are, but why they are. I guess I know that doesn't sound very grammatically correct, but why they are the person they are and who are they wanting to be, and finding a way to live your truth and live authentically. I think that's probably one of the most challenging aspects of being a human. If you can answer that question, I think that will help guide you as you start to do the work for other people through advocacy and activism.
Yes. There's so much I want to unpack there. Before I even get into the questions, something that came up for me is this quote that my friend Jessica turned me on to and I love. And it's a Bell Hooks quote.
I love bell hooks.
Yes. Yes. And the quote, I'm paraphrasing, but it's something like the most important type of activism is our mental health. Because if you feel like you can't change anything about your reality, how are you going to change the world? And it goes on, but the part of the quote I love the most is if you're fucked up and lead the revolution, you're going to have a pretty fucked up revolution.
And who could say it more eloquently than bell hooks? That's perfect because it really is like the blind leading the blind. If you have no sense of purpose, if you have no direction, if you have no focus, no goal, no drive, whatever, then you have no real meaningful contribution. And that's why you have to do your work in order to tap into those things that are essentials you to do the work and to keep you focused and grounded because this work is hard. It's challenging. There are lots of disappointments. There are lots of frustrations and setbacks. Think about just recently with the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict and how that was a setback. And then fast forward a week and we have the McMichaels and their accomplice, co-conspirator, I forget his name right now, but they had guilty verdicts in the death of Ahmaud Arbery. And I think those are the things that have to keep you going is when you have those setbacks to remember the purpose, to remember your focus, and that the mission is bigger than just one moment in time.
That's so important. It's the vision, it's the mission, it's the why, it's the how, but it's also the who. And I love that you talked about the importance of the who am I wanting to become, because I think if we are so focused on this goal, this thing we want to accomplish, but we again haven't done the things to become the person we need to be to affect those changes, we're just going to get disappointed. And so, and I know you're talking about students, you're talking about the folks that you work with, but I have even noted people in leadership who haven't necessarily done this work around that foundational, why, what is my purpose? Why am I doing this? Who do I need to become? How can I best get it done? Right. And that's not because they don't want to, but we gloss over these big strategic questions because the day to day gets in the way. But this really is that foundation for activating that movement.
Exactly. And when I think about people in leadership, I think about the importance of a servant leader and being able to minister to your group, to the people who look up to you, and to work with them and have them working with you in this very collaborative way where you're not exercising dominion over anyone, but you're working in concert and creating the reality that you want to see in your organization. So I think that's something that people miss the mark on, that they're so busy being focused on being in charge that they do not lead the charge.
Really powerful. And I think that we have really grown up and seeing models of that hierarchical leadership. We think that's just what a leader is. We think it's that leader who slaps their fist on the boardroom table and is, kind of larger than life. But to me, I think the strongest, most effective leaders were really those community-based folks who were just in right relation with everyone around them. And as a result, it created that ripple effect that really affected a movement.
Exactly. And I think part of that mentality, that antiquated mentality around leadership comes from the system and culture of white supremacy and patriarchy, that these are the things that are important within that system, that you have power and control and that you exercise that in a full-throated way where there is and being unapologetic. That's where I want people to begin to understand that that is not a successful or sustainable model of leadership, that you have to work in concert with the people who are under your charge to be able to accomplish the mission that is set forth before you in your organization, in your workplace, wherever you are, and wherever you have an opportunity to lead and serve.
Okay, so you've heard from us. Now I want to hear from you. Leaving a review helps us so much in growing our reach and supporting more folks with this podcast. And even better, I would love for you to send me a note on LinkedIn with your takeaways from this episode. I cherish and respond to every message, so I can't wait to hear from you. And if you want to go even deeper, check out the show notes to take your next step.